Hello, this is Chuck Ridgway, Automation Technology Manager at Horner. Thanks for joining us for another Tuesday live stream. Well, it's the day after Labor Day, and here in the United States, that's the end of our traditional summer. And all summer long here at Horner, we've had what we're calling a CPU summer, where we have reviewed the new modular controllers from Horner, which are some innovative new products. Now, we started with the CPU250, and we transitioned to the CPU300. And today, as we wrap up the series, we've got another great topic for you. Here it is. All about HMI Connect. Now, HMI Connect are the component touchscreens that really unlock the power of the CPU300 modular controller. How do they do that? Well, you can take the CPU300 with its associated OCS I/O, mount it on DIN rail buried in a panel somewhere, and then remotely, closer to the operator, you can locate an HMI Connect touchscreen. Now, that touchscreen is just a component. It doesn't require any programming. It doesn't require any configuration. And it connects with a single cable back to the CPU300, up to 8 meters long. And the CPU300 is running the only application program in the system, just one application file developed in Cscape 10, unlike your traditional PLC and HMI approach, where you've got a program running in the PLC and you've got a program running in the HMI. That's not the case with HMI Connect and the CPU300. Just one program, and it's in the CPU300. All right, so we've got a lot to cover with HMI Connect today. Let's get right to it and break down today's topic. We're going to start with just a few slides on what is HMI Connect, and then we're going to get into an interesting discussion that I had with our R&D manager, Ken Janata, about the technology behind HMI Connect. Then we're going to give you all the practical information you need to apply either the standard panels or the advanced panels, two different variations of the HMI Connect touchscreens. And all along the way, there will be plenty of demonstrations. Here we go. Now, the beauty of HMI Connect and the CPU300 is that we now can offer our customers two choices when it comes to all-in-one style control. For the customers that need the most control with the smallest component space possible, they can use one of our all-in-one controllers, such as our Canvas unit shown there on the left. But for customers that prefer separate components, they can use the CPU300 with HMI Connect touchscreens, but they still can enjoy all-in-one software from Cscape and a single application file that's executed at runtime to run the application. So whether it's one piece or components, it's one software package and one application file. Now, HMI Connect displays basically connect through a single cable into the display connector on the front of the CPU300. That single cable carries power, the video signal, and touch feedback. It's the only cable you need. There's a 1 meter cable included in the box with every HMI Connect touchscreen, and you can buy longer cables up to 8 meters. Now, with HMI Connect, we have two different series to choose from. We have the standard panels and we have the advanced panels. Let's start with the standard panels. They mount like a traditional HMI or a traditional Horner OCS all-in-one. They typically mount through the door of an enclosure to provide a wash-down style seal. Now, alternately, if you don't need a wash-down style seal, you can mount them using a visa pattern out in the open air. What's a visa pattern? Well, it is a standard hole pattern that allows you to use standardized accessories for mounting. Now, again, if you choose the visa pattern, you don't get a washdown rating. And one other note, the 4-inch model is too small for the visa pattern. With our advanced touchscreens, these units are extra rugged and they're sunlight viewable, incredibly bright displays. They're all metal construction, and like the standard panels, you can either panel mount them or visa mount them. But in the case of the advanced panels, in either mounting approach, you get a washdown style rating. And these units have a capacitive touchscreen, which gives you a little bit different user experience than the resistive touchscreen, even though at this point it doesn't give you any extra gestures. All right, now let's jump into that technology discussion I had earlier with Ken Janata, our R&D manager. Okay, joining me today is our R&D manager from Horner, Ken Janata. How are we doing today, Ken?
Very good.
Very good. All right, so Ken, why don't you tell us about your responsibilities at Horner?
So I manage the Horner engineering team, the research and development, and I also look for new technologies that we can use and how we would implement them.
Very good, because I'm glad you are the one that one of the people that is key for choosing new technologies, because we're here to do a technology discussion today. So specifically, what we're going to talk about is the technology behind this cable. So this is a cable that's used with our HMI Connect touchscreens, which basically allow us to remote locate an industrial touchscreen component away from the CPU that controls it. So we're going to talk about the technology behind this cable, and specifically this cable carries video along with a touchscreen feedback for the operator as well as power, all in one 4-conductor cable. So that's what we're here to talk about. So Ken, let's get right to it. What's the technology behind the HMI Connect touchscreen cables?
Well, it actually goes back 30 years. So when there were laptops being developed, you would have 30 or 40 signals that would need to go from the base of the laptop up to the screen. And that created expense. It was an area that could break. So the manufacturers were looking at a way of reducing the number of wires. So 30 years ago, they reduced that 30 or 40 wires into 5.
Okay.
And that was the flat panel display link kind of evolution that it first started. About 20 years ago, the automotive industry started adding cameras and displays, and they wanted something similar, but they wanted even fewer than 5. So they narrowed it down to a single cable. They were able to get all that data across one cable.
Okay.
And then about 15 years ago, as touchscreens got more important and sending other information like audio or touchscreen, they added a channel that can go back and forth. So ultimately, that's kind of the evolution of the system we're using. It's taking 30 or 40 signals that we need to go to the display or the touchscreen, serializing them into a single channel that goes up to the display.
Oh, very cool. So it sounds like the computer industry definitely, has, taken on this technology, as has the automotive industry. And they've solved some pretty good problems by doing that. But when did you first learn? This is obviously not new technology. When did you first learn about it yourself?
I actually learned about 20 years ago. The chip manufacturer's representative was explaining the system to us. It was pretty new at that time. The cables were very expensive, so it didn't quite fit our needs, and it didn't have the bidirectional communication or that sorted out. But it's something we've kind of had on the shelf and looking for a place to use it.
Okay, I see. So what was kind of the final straw? What made you finally decide to put it in a Horner product?
Well, about 8 years ago, we started working on a custom controller that's used in fire trucks and other emergency vehicles, and they needed to do remote displays. And we looked at HDMI quite a bit, or DisplayPort. Those have some advantages of higher speed, and the cables are very inexpensive, but the cables are thick and not very robust. And they don't have the noise immunity capabilities the FPD link has, so we chose that route in that case. And then, it was already kind of automotive hardened, so fitting on a fire truck versus a minivan seemed like a natural fit.
Yeah, and I know that from my experience with working with both HDMI and DisplayPort, that those are obviously excellent consumer level technologies. But like you mentioned, they're not that robust, and they're a little sensitive, when it comes to the industrial environment. And there seems to be a big difference between, an HDMI cable and this guy, So what is it about this cable? Is it a general purpose cable? Is it a specific purpose cable? What's special about this cable?
It's pretty special. It's designed, the signals that we're transmitting are up to 2 gigahertz, so you have to handle very high speed signals, where a typical LCD is like 20 to 50 megahertz. So the cable's a twisted pair, kind of like CAN, but much tighter tolerances. It's shielded. And then the connectors are special. So even the connector losses are a really big deal at 2 gigahertz. So they have to be special connectors that are robust enough to send that high-speed signal. They latch in very well, they're waterproof, and they're designed not to vibrate loose in a vehicle.
Okay, so all those sound great for robustness. My question is, What about custom cables? If somebody needs a custom length cable, this isn't a cable they're probably going to build themselves, is it?
No, the termination requires special equipment because of the high speed.
Okay.
So we're working with the manufacturer to see what other lengths that we can sort out. You can always loop the cable, so it's not a big deal to have extra cable.
Okay.
But one of the challenges with cables is they're automotive kind of grade cables, which means the volumes are typically really high. So cable manufacturers want to build a lot of them.
Okay, I see. So from the standpoint of multiple displays, let's talk about that next. Because one of the things I know I'm excited about, and I've heard a lot of customers that are excited about, is the ability to have multiple HMI Connect touchscreens all connected back to a single CPU300. So if you want to have, HMI at the front of the machine, and one at the back, and one on the side, and have operators, having the ability to work on any of the three, you can do that when we apply this multiple touchscreen to a single CPU300. How's that going to work precisely?
So the splitter will plug in. It won't require any special programming. So you'll plug in the splitter into your CPU, and then you'll have up to 3 ports where you can plug in 3 identical displays. And it'll take that image and put it on all 3 displays. There'll be no extra latency or anything. It'll happen all instantly. And when a user touches one of the screens, the other 2 screens will dim slightly to indicate that it's being used, so 2 people don't touch the screen at the same time. We've kind of taken that into account. But you'll be able to use all 3 screens as if it were a local screen with the full speed and performance that you'd have with a single screen.
Nice. So my understanding is, and I think you mentioned it in your response, is that you need to have 3 identical models of screens, right? So you aren't mixing and matching between different sizes and resolutions and that sort of thing, right?
Right. We're just sending one video image and then kind of splitting it to 3 different locations.
Got it. That makes sense. And if I recall correctly, there's another accessory we're working on. Is that an extender? What is that?
Yes. So the FPD link systems, it can go up to about 8 meters. If you need to extend it, we'll basically reclock it. We'll take the signal and retransmit it and get another 8 meters. You'll be able to do 3 or 4 of those in a row if you need to have really long runs.
Okay, very cool. So, okay, finally, I love the sound of this technology. I think it's going to really add a lot of flexibility for machine builders. So what's next? How are we going to be using this HMI Connect technology moving forward? What are we going to add next?
The industry is obviously going, faster, higher resolution. So we're looking at higher resolution displays. In automotive, it's used quite a bit with cameras. So we're looking at bringing in camera feeds over the same type of signal. So we'd have high resolution cameras. It also allows audio channels. So we're looking at, sending audio channels to that. And then one of the next versions is going to allow a 2-pair coax where power is sent over it. So it'd be even a smaller wire, a less expensive wire that sends power and the signals over 2-pair.
Nice. Well, Ken, I really appreciate you joining me today for this technology discussion, and I look forward to our next one.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, take care, Ken.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion with Ken. He brought up a lot of great points. The fact that HMI Connect uses FPD Link, which is established, proven technology that automotive has been using for some time. It provides bidirectional communications. It's much more robust than either HDMI or DisplayPort. It operates at 2 gigahertz, which means you need a high quality cable for the connection, but you can get those from Horner. He also mentioned that we've got the splitters and extenders that'll be coming soon. And there also in the future could be connectivity for cameras and higher resolution touchscreens. So lots of great points brought up during that discussion. Now let's get into all the practical information you need to know to integrate these HMI Connect products. Let's start with the standard panels. The standard panels are available in 4 different sizes: 4.3, 7, 10.1, and 15. Now they panel mount like a traditional OCS or a traditional HMI. As a matter of fact, they have the same cutout pattern as the OCS models of the same size. So that's convenient, no new cutout dimensions. Also, if you choose to Visa mount them, which you can, you'll just get an IP20 rating, and the Visa pattern that's used on these is the 100 millimeter by 100 millimeter option. Now keep in mind, the 4-inch panel does not have the Visa mount, it's too small. And the hardware that's used with Visa is M5. So you'll need to source some M5 mounting hardware if you mount it using Visa. Now, if you traditionally mount it using, through the door of an enclosure, the clamps that you need are all included in the box. All right, let's take a look at the HMI Connect Standard panels. Okay, let's take a look at our HMI Connect Standard panel. This happens to be the 7-inch model, and I've got everything that's included in the box here on the table. From the front, this could easily be a Canvas 7. It's the same size, it looks the same from the front. The big difference, of course, is when you flip it over. And there now, of course, it's obviously not a Canvas unit at this point, because we obviously don't have any built-in I/O or any of the other ports that are available on Canvas. All those are, of course, accessible directly from the CPU300 modular CPU. So the HMI Connect panel just has the display connector here, okay, that single connection we've been talking about. And it's also got a 100 millimeter spacing Visa cutout pattern that uses M5 hardware, okay? Now, most folks, though, will install this like a traditional OCS in that they'll use the mounting clamps that come in the box, and you've got the same slots that are used, the 4 slots, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and most people install them that way. Standard cutout sizes, that sort of thing. So, pretty straightforward, really. Of course, it's very important to note that in the box, in addition to the clamps, of course, and the user's documentation, you also have a 1 meter cable, HMI Connect cable that's included. If you need a longer length, you can buy that separately, but the 1 meter is included in the box. All right, so this is our first look at one of the standard HMI Connect units. Okay, I've got this standard HMI Connect 7-inch model, okay? And because it's not designed for direct sunlight viewability, we've taken some steps here. If we have an outdoor application and we decide to use a standard panel, using an accessory like this from Rob Roy is a good idea. It provides protection, at least from the standpoint of shading from the sun when you're using the touchscreen. And then when you close it up, when you're not using the touchscreen, it does provide protection against the elements as well. So that's a nice approach. Now keep in mind the screen looks pretty nice here with this accessory mounted, but also we are in the shade too. So that also is impacting what you see right now. But again, looks just like a Canvas unit from the front until we actually look inside. And as we look inside, we can see that this is indeed an HMI Connect. Mounted just like a traditional OCS, same exact cutout hole, same exact clamping mechanism. The big difference visually, of course, is that instead of a variety of different connections, you just have one here back to the CPU300, which is located here on the DIN rail. Now in this example, really we just put the HMI Connect touchscreen and the CPU300 in the same enclosure, which of course you can do and many people will. But you also have the option of locating this maybe on a pendant or somewhere in a different enclosure than the CPU300 and the I/O. Maybe that would be a better architecture for some of you. So again, this is the traditional mounting of a standard HMI Connect 7-inch model. Now let's turn our attention to the HMI Connect Advanced panels. They're available in 2 different sizes, 7-inch and 10.1 inch. You can Visa mount them. They have a 100 millimeter Visa pattern, but they use M8 mounting hardware, not M5 mounting hardware. Also, if you choose to panel mount them, they do have unique cutout dimensions that doesn't match any other Horner products, so keep that in mind. Also, you'll need to use M8 mounting hardware if you panel mount them, not clamps like you do with the traditional OCS. And they come with an adhesive-backed gasket in the case you do want to panel mount them. All right, let's take a look at HMI Connect Advanced. All right, we're looking at the contents of the packing box for a 10-inch advanced panel. So these units are very sleek on the front. Okay, that's a glass panel there. Okay, very ruggedized glass, by the way. It's not going to shatter, no concerns with that. Remember, these were originally developed for emergency vehicles, so they've got to be rugged and reliable. Metal construction. Okay, you can't necessarily see it, but maybe you can. This is all metal construction here. You've got the Visa pattern, 100 millimeter spacing, so that you can mount it to standardized Visa accessories. And of course, you got to keep in mind the location here on this particular display connector. That's our HMI Connect display connector there. Now, if you decide to mount it from the standpoint of panel mounting it instead of mounting it using the Visa mounts, then you still have the same size threaded holes here. These are all 8 millimeter thread. But now you would use these for mounting locations instead of these 4 mounting locations. Now, what about gasketing? How do you keep it gasketed? Well, from the standpoint of gasketing, there is a gasket, an adhesive-backed gasket included in the box, and I've got one already applied to another 10-inch model here. That gives you an idea. It's got adhesive on both sides. I've already removed the adhesive and applied the gasket to the back of this unit. But of course, you're only going to do that if you're going to mount it in a panel and not on the Visa mounts. And keep in mind, once you've connected this cable, you've got an IP67 rating without any kind of gasketing at all if you're mounting it in the open air. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Of course, in the box, you've got your 1 meter HMI Connect cable, you've got your user's documentation, and then you've got your mounting hardware. So these are M8 by 50 millimeter long studs, okay? And then of course you've got washers, both standard washers, lock washers, and nuts also included with the mounting hardware as well. So that's a look at what you get in the box with the advanced panels. I'm out here in the direct sunlight. It's a very bright day, and I'm out here with the advanced panel, at least the 7-inch version. And I don't know how well it comes across on camera, but boy, this product looks great in the direct sunlight. The colors are vibrant. You can see everything just really well. It's just a beautiful product in tough lighting conditions. So if you have a need for direct sunlight viewability and you want ruggedness and a really high quality touchscreen, these advanced panels are hard to beat. Finally, just to make sure we don't forget this little detail, let's talk about the HMI Connect cables that are available from Horner. Again, when you use these cables, you don't lose your IP67 rating because they're sealed. They carry power, video signal, and touch feedback all on that same cable. They're available in 3 different lengths at the part numbers that we're showing in the lower right-hand corner. And coming in the 4th quarter of this year, 2025, is a cable gland for getting this particular cable through the side of an enclosure. That will be available very soon. And then we'll also have an extender on the way for longer distances away from the CPU300. And we've got a splitter coming that we talked about with Ken. All right, so that does it for today's content. Keep in mind, we're coming under the gun when it comes to the training schedule. But I've got something new to share with you, and that is there is a training schedule in Texas offsite at Process Solutions. That's September 9th through the 10th. So if you're interested in that, get on our website and check out the information for that training class, which is not located in Indianapolis at the Horner Training Center, but is remote located in Texas. So all the details can be found on our website. If you want to check out the basic or advanced training in the 4th quarter, you better get signed up quickly because those classes are just about full, certainly the basic class. Lots of trade shows coming over the last part of the year. They're listed here. Come talk to a Horner person about your application and check out some of these new products. All right, lots of ways to interact with Horner online, on our website, on our YouTube channel, as well as LinkedIn. Now, next week, we're now done with the CPU summer, but we've still got lots of great content for you. And we've got a new product to talk about next week. It is the Micro I/O Relay Module. So this is an exciting product that's going to add additional relay capability very easily and very inexpensively to the Micro series of products, or really to any Horner all-in-one controller, but they work especially well with the Micro series. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, don't hesitate to do so. It doesn't cost anything. And if you choose notifications when you subscribe, you'll be notified every time we go live or every time we post a new video. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the CPU summer. I guess I'll have to dress in something besides cabana wear next week. But until then, let's get out there and do some good.